wonder if people in that small town in Texas that lost 19 children and 2 teachers, if any of them possibly went to Mass today, whether they did or didn't, certainly can you imagine the feelings they have, and even probably all of us who've seen news clips and so forth. It's so painful, it's so sad, it's so frustrating. And part of this, Jesus saying, I mean, in his own time, he's speaking because he knows he's going to die within the day. They don't know it. And he knows they're going to weep. And the world will rejoice, or the world will go on. You know, a lot of grieving people say everybody else seems to just go on, understandably, and the person weeps, and so often weeps alone. And know you grieve, but your grief will become joy. Here too, I go back, even remembering my very first parish, you know, within a couple months, a young man, 17, died in a motorcycle accident right near St. Barnabas. And the sadness there. And I think here too, we have to be very careful. You know, we do believe that there's eternal life. In fact, I was touched but brought to tears. One of the little videos they showed on one of the newscasts was I can't remember, it was a little girl, a little boy, must have been in Sunday school or somewhere, and said, and this was one of the children who died, "Oh, I know when I die, I'm going to go to heaven and I'm going to be with Jesus." And of course, that's beautiful, and that's our ultimate faith. At the same time, even with that family, to right now say, "Oh, you don't need to feel too bad because your son's in heaven," or, you know, look what he said. Obviously, you don't say that right away. I remember walking with this family in my first parish, and many parishes since, over months of simply walking with them in their grief. And not saying, "Well, you know, we believe in heaven," or not saying immediately, you know, death isn't the final reality. I mean, I preach it here. We said it yesterday. But the point is, with the people who are experiencing that great pain, first of all, it's simply walking with them, listening with them, crying with them, being with them. You know, we'd like to make it all better right away, sometimes for ourselves. And just realizing that. Think about Jesus on the day we have that Pietà and Mary grieving at her son dying. Can you imagine somebody saying, "Well, you know, he did tell you a few times he's going to rise from the dead, Mary. You don't need to grieve." Of course you wouldn't say that on that day, you know. And so for us, knowing we have faith, we have compassion. And knowing over and over, and Jesus did this, we need to walk with people in whatever they're experiencing. And be careful. I know of people are very well-meaning. You know, I've heard people say in other death situations, even with children, "Well, you know, they're in heaven now. You know, this is a day after they're in heaven now, and so you should be happy." Or I've heard this. I mean, you know, people mean well. Yeah, but you have 3 other children, so, you know, be happy and focus on them. You know, all statements which at some point in time may have some help, but certainly not at that point in time. And obviously, especially with children, but with anybody, people can grieve for a lifetime. And so we see in this passage, even when he uses the term of a woman in labor anguish, but when she's given birth to a child, she no longer remembers the pain. But what does she feel when the child dies? And so you are also now in anguish. Again, I imagine a lot of people hearing this. But I will see you again, and your hearts will rejoice. Be very careful. I'm sure that hopefully the ministers there are careful in not saying, "Well, there you go. See, you're going to rejoice. It's going to be okay." You don't say it's going to be okay on day 1 or day 2 or probably 3 weeks later. You walk with people in their pain, and believe that ultimately, you know, that love, walking with people and helping people see Jesus is walking with them. But even there's somebody on this show said, "Well, God bless you." And again, that's a statement to make. On the other hand, that can be very trite, can't it? It's true that we want God to bless people, but again, we need to walk with people where they are, and not see that it's a lack of faith. Even Jesus wept at the death of Lazarus, and he knew he was going to raise him up. So there's grief. And our country and our world, when it's Ukraine or anywhere else, there's grief. And not to be overwhelmed by it, every one of us, but to know it's real, and to know that, again, our faith can see us through, but not immediately and not glibly and not just superficially. We'll pray for you. Again, we ought to say that, but at the same time, walk with people and really pray for everybody. We take a moment. It's good we're here today, and whatever prayers we have, we remember all the people in the world who are going through very deep pain right now for any number of reasons.